Now, Donna, you want to know why there are lions near Thamba? That's quite an interesting question. It started... Oh, how many lions? Sorry, Donna. I only saw one male and 3 or 4 females. I didn't see anything more. There could be more lions here. It's just very thick bush where they're lying at the moment on the edge of the Mulwati drainage line. Definitely the Styx Pride that we saw. I didn't see any cubs with them. There may be 1 or 2 lying next to them, but we didn't. I didn't see any at the moment. It just looks like some females and a male. We'll go back and have a look at them in a little bit. He's looking really good, this little guy. He could do with a meal, to be honest with you. He could probably go a couple more days, probably up to a week before he's going to need anything else. And it does mean that he's eating quite well. Leopard at this particular age will eat virtually anything that they can kill. From scavenging for fish drying up in pans this time of the year, to birds that they can catch, monkeys, squirrels, scrub hares, monitor lizards, even insects. They're not, given enough incentive, leopard will eat virtually anything. Not really a danger to humans at this point. Old leopard are what become man-eaters. Old and injured leopard generally become man-eaters, and there's just horror stories of leopard eating people out of India. I know in India there's people are running out of space, and of course the first things to go are the wilderness areas, and so man-animal conflict is inevitable. Having been in Kenya over the last couple of months, the man-animal conflict between the herdsmen is an interesting story. One of the gentlemen that we deal with up there, a guy called Shadrach, he's this fairly robust man now in his early to middle 50s, and he's got some horrible scars across his legs and his back. And when I asked him where he got the scars from, he said to me that he was in a fight with a leopard. Now his recount of the story was he was fighting with this leopard for 2 hours. It was a female leopard that was trying to eat one of his goats. Now the Maasai live in a multi-roomed communal house, so a multi-roomed house, and in the middle room that separates where the wives and the children live from the man's domain is where all the goats sleep. And I know that sounds pretty weird, but that's what it is. So the goats sleep inside with everybody, and most Maasai carry around a big knife called a simi. It's a short sword about this long. I have one on my backpack, you can see it tomorrow. And they also carry a club that's got a steel head. I can't remember what that's called. Can you remember what it's called, Senda? It's got an interesting name. Perhaps one of the guys that are sitting with an Askari, James, perhaps can ask their Askari just now what the steel-headed club is called. But anyway, so Shadrach wakes up with this commotion coming from his goat room. And when he sticks his head in there, one of the goats has been caught by a leopard, so he grabs the leopard and the goat and he attacks it with his club. And for 2 hours, him and this leopard are involved in this wrestling match. And he came out the victor. He said the leopard ran off and left his goat alone and left him alone after this wrestle, but he's full of scars from this leopard just clawing and biting the pieces out of him. So, no, shame. It's you've got to ask yourself the question, what for, Donate the goat. There's lots of goats out there, but with the exception of that story, and that was a fairly young leopard, the far majority of stories that you hear about man-leopard encounters are old or injured animals and not young animals like this. So I think the point of the story that I was going to get to was the fact that young leopard like this, although they have a very wide and very varied diet, are not prone to eating people or children or coming into camps, even though they're very relaxed around those places. Alright, why don't we go and have a look at James's lion cubs, who are now sunning themselves on the rock he's at.
Yes, they are sunning themselves. Look at them. Isn't that wonderful? I'm afraid we are not able to tell you what the steel bit of the Maasai sword is called. We can try that a little bit later. I'll try and find out. I'll actually take my little Maasai sword and try and ask somebody what the different parts of it are called. Not sure what relevance that had. I assume that the leopard was fought off with the aid of the Masai sword. Our little lion cubs now coming out to do much the same as the Mwanza was doing, just basking in the last rays of the sun. We've probably got about 20 minutes or so until the sun sinks down below the horizon, and that means these little cubbies will probably then, I guess, disappear inside if the mums don't come back. Yeah, Dave, I'd say you're absolutely right. You say 1 in 3 lion cubs. Is it true that 1 in 3 lion cubs only make it through the first year? I'd say that's absolutely correct. 1 in 10 adult or males will make it to adulthood, and probably 1 in 8 females will make it to adulthood. So once they're over the first year, that's not necessarily, all the way there. They haven't done all the hard work. And only 1 in 10 males will make it to become big territorial males who sire their own cubs. So really, they are up against it, these little things. Look. Karen, you're wondering about how many males there are and how many females there are, and do we know? The answer is no, we don't know. I suspect quite strongly that what we have here is, in theory, it should be 4 and 5, according to the laws of statistics and probability. But it might be different from that. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. I seem to remember when we had 6 cubs with the Nkuhuma Pride. I seem to remember there being only 2 males in that group. I mean, that's not entirely unusual. It's not impossible. You can work out the probabilities, though. It's most likely that there are 4 and 5 here, of one or the other. But there is no skewed sex ratio at birth, as far as I'm aware. Somebody told me once that sable antelope have a skewed ratio of more females to males, and I didn't think that that was true. But if somebody can help me with that, that would be fascinating. I don't know of any mammals that, and I imagine there must be some. I'm not sure what the mechanism would be, but I suppose evolution could have provided a mechanism by which there could be some kind of preponderance. In human beings, of course, it's a 50-50 birth ratio on average. And I'd be fascinated to know if there are any mammals that are by default not, say, 40 or 40-60 or something like that. If anyone could tell me that, that would also be very fascinating. I wouldn't understand the mechanism of how it happens, but it would be very interesting. A light like this you will not beat. And my only regret about this sighting is that I do not have a long lens on the end of my camera so that I may take lots of illegal photographs close up to those lions in the gorgeous light. Now, there seems to be some conflict at Djuma, or some potential conflict. I'm hoping desperately that the smaller of the combatants will escape any conflict. So let's head back to Stef and find out how that's going to play out.
And these lions have gotten up, and behind me, I now know why Thamba was so agitated and climbing to the top of the tree. The females just got up and left while the sun was still up, which is unusual. But having seen them when they stood up, they are also looking a bit skinny, and I think the hunger pangs have gotten them moving. That then obviously woke this male lion up a little bit earlier than usual, and he's now going through all the motions of right now biting a fly, yawning to oxygenate his muscles, stretching a little bit, and I think he's going to follow these females shortly. There we go. Now he's going to come very close to me, and of course without a door it's not my favorite thing, but that is right behind the car. It never fails, even after 20 years of working in the bush, to elicit a response from me. And just like how beautiful he is. Massive male lion. Let's see if he goes down and has a drink. I'm going to go forward a little bit, just so we can have a nice view of him as he walks across the dam wall. And then we'll go back and see Thamba climb down, because I'm sure he can't believe his luck. He was in for half an evening of sitting by and waiting for these lions to move off, and they've decided to move off an hour early. Oh, just look at how fantastic that is. Yeah, beautiful light. So let's get a nice frame on that, and then let's use that light so that you can get yourselves a nice screenshot of today. Nice dry season screenshot of this lion. Senzo's just leveling the camera for you, and then he'll frame it up, and there we go. Let's see if he turns over. Beautiful. His males are looking good, I must be honest with you. He's looking fed and fat, his females are not. A rude man. Deborah, you said it's just stunning, so magnificent. I must agree with you there, it is. Oh, big yawn, still saliva dripping out of his face. There'll be a vehicle coming into shot now. There's another vehicle. Aubrey, in fact, is parked on the dam wall. He's going to get a lovely view. You're going to see a vehicle coming into the shot now. It's all okay. This lion is not hunting any of them. So I haven't seen these male lions in so long. They've actually changed to a point where they're unrecognizable for me. But Tinyo, you saying that this is Tinyo, a few of you out there who know these lions better than me. And when he yawned, his bottom left or right canine was chipped. That might help you to determine who this is. And Senzo says that he's the one that's got some injuries. He's got a hole from a bite mark somewhere. He's looking lean as well, you know. You know what? I think this drought that we had last year was devastating to the buffalo populations in this particular area. I think that we've had a big problem with buffalo. We haven't seen buffalo here in ages, and the odd buffalo that you do see, these lions are basically... Now, we're going to just get into a position where we can see Thamba come down the tree here, because that's going to be another fantastic thing to see. He's now at the top there. He'll wait for the lions to move off, and while we do so, why don't we go and have a look at Scott's cheetah, also in some beautiful light.
Well, it just sounds like it's a beautiful afternoon safari. So much action unfolding, and indeed a incredible, beautiful scene. We are the only people here. The wind has died down. I can hear Cape turtle dove calling in the distance. There's a few flies buzzing around my ear. But to have these three cheetah just posing and chilling out on this tranquil scene is absolutely magical, and it is great to have you with us. It is dead still. Whew, it's beautiful. And look at these two brothers cuddling up. What a scene. It's not just me that's getting bothered by the flies, it's them too. Absolutely awesome. Now, while they're right next to one another like that with their heads side by side, you'll notice how their spots are quite different. Look at how from that left eye of both of them, the one that we're looking at now that's facing us, it's got a very small kind of tear that runs out of its eye, whereas the one on the right has got a far bigger, darker patch. So just a good way to be able to now compare that. It's fairly easy to distinguish the spot patterns between these animals, but I certainly do not consider myself an expert just yet. It'll take a lot of time and effort to be able to work out exactly who is who with ease. Ilana, just 14 years old. So wonderful to have you on the sunset safari. You would like to know, will these two brothers stay together or will they split up? And it's likely that they will stay together, but there's no set rules in nature, so they may split up. But I'm hoping they stay together, maybe invite another boy or two into their club and become a powerful and dominant coalition. We'll certainly be doing our best to follow their movements. Sadly, they may wander off far afield where we do not go. That is a reality. But they could well stay. And if they do, we will be sure to try and follow their footsteps. Have they seen anything across there? No, I think they're just doing a kind of general perimeter check, just to make sure there's no prey. They are hungry. If any of you have just joined onto the safari, they have been trying to hunt today during the midday sun, or kind of between 10 and 12, with no joy. 3 attempted hunts, but nothing so far this evening. To be fair, there's not a whole bunch of prey in the area to entice them into a hunt, but that could change. I'm hoping it does. I would love to see them hurtling after some prey in this beautiful evening light. Magic stuff. I can't believe all the action that's unfolding today. Cute little cubs with James, big male lions, and leopard with Stef. Jamie's also got other lions, so all kinds of action unfolding. Be sure to let us know how you're feeling and send through questions, please, using the hashtag Safari Live, as this is a team game. It wouldn't be fun being on safari all on our lonesomes. So do chat with us. They are hungry, they could get up. It's not over yet, but for now, while they continue to relax, we're going to send you off to James's cute little cubs.
Right, yes, little cubs indeed. There they are, playing around. Sun just gone behind a cloud, now sending sprays of golden light onto a part of the reserve behind a bush for Fergus. So we're going to keep watching these cubs. And oh, let's quickly go down to Stef. The leopard is coming down a tree. 109876 54321.
It is so difficult to know when Thamba is going to come out of this tree, and we really want to show you him descending. But we may just have gotten it. Are you going to come down? Every time he moves like this, oh, look at that silhouette. Beautiful. Hello, guy. Now he's looking down for a landing pad. I think he's going to come down within the next couple of seconds. Let's hope so. Come on, boy. The lions have gone. He's now facing in the opposite direction, so has lost interest. He's now scanning the horizon, which is, you know, he might as well do that while he's up there, and take some time to observe potential prey opportunities. That branch is absolutely not the most comfortable. Having sat on lots of knobthorn stumps around fires, I can tell you that the bark is abrasive. Hooked thorns everywhere. Definitely not. Megan tells me that a lot of you are cheering Thamba on to come out of the tree. I'm doing exactly the same thing. The lions have crossed over our boundary and are hunting now in a property south of where we are called Little Gowrie. And so I'm personally wishing the sticks luck on tonight's forays. They can all do with a bit of a mouthful. Let's hope that something kindly sacrifices itself to feed them. What are you going to do, boy? Alita, you've asked me a question. Did Thamba have a sister that was killed by the Styx Pride? I don't actually know. By sister, do you mean a litter mate, or by sister do you mean a previous cub from Tundi? I'm actually going to ask Louise that question. Perhaps Louise knows. Unfortunately, I don't know that level of detail with these particular with these particular cats' history. But there's a lot of you out there that could help us with the answer to this question. Could you perhaps, could I ask that you send in the answer to the question, has Tundi lost one of her cubs to the Styx Pride? And specifically, was it a litter mate of Tamba's? I've known of Thamba since he was born. I don't remember him having a litter mate myself personally. This is the first time I'm seeing him. And so, what are you going to do? Oh, it is so difficult. There we go. Come now. No, still not. Wants to. Alright, everybody, get yourselves ready. It's going to happen in a rush. No. Making one last check to see if the lions are not there. You see that tail just betraying that agitation. Last little glimmer of sunlight on his fur. It's okay, boy, you can come down. Nothing. James Richards, thank you, James. You've answered it for us. James confirms that Thamba did have a sister that was killed by the Styx Pride. So thank you very much, James. That's much appreciated. I know I should know these things, but these types of facts escape me when you haven't seen them and have never seen them. I've never seen him before. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. He's still lying there with this very quizzed face. You know, when a leopard is indecisive about something, their ears go out to the side. I think you can probably still hear those lions, although I think he got a bad fright, you know. When he got that nose full of lions, I think he honestly believed he was being hunted by them at that point. And he skedaddled up this tree, and he's now stayed there. Go forward just a little bit. No, we might run the risk of this. No, let's go forward a little bit. I think we can risk this branch. We've got a little bit of a branch in our way, and I think I was just trying to get there. There we go. Not too much of a problem. There, we can just see a little bit more of his face. He's a beautiful looking leopard. He's not the most robust leopard. Initially thought that he was a female leopard, to be honest with you. Much to my embarrassment, I must be honest. Again, I'll ask apology for that. When he arrived at the water, I thought he was a female leopard. And I made that assumption based on the fact that he's got quite fine bones. He's got a skinny face for a leopard, for a male leopard of his age, and even now I know that he was born in June 2016. I still think that he's a small boned leopard. Things might change when he gets a little bit older, but even Hosanna, which I saw last night, and I've only seen Hosanna a handful of times, I can't remember, but definitely less than 5 times, even he was a little bit more robust than young Thamba. And it could be for a variety of reasons. You know, if you have a look at leopards' bones and the development of their bones, it tells a story of times of feast and famine where their muscular and skeletal development grows in spurts and bounds, and does so because of the abundance of food or the total lack thereof. And they have a very wide weight range as well. In the Sabi sand we get very heavy male leopard, up to 90 kilograms and probably a little bit more. The heaviest leopard I've ever heard of has weighed 130 kilograms in the wild, but they average out at about 60 kilograms, and in some cases will go down to much less than that. Now, in the interests of adding a bit of variety to what you're looking at, we're going to risk sending you over to James, who's got a beautiful, beautiful sunset sky to show you. And as soon as he decides to move, I'll call you back. So I'll see you in a little bit.
Right, here we go, everyone. The Lioness is coming with 2 cubs now, and so obviously 2 of them stayed with the others, or with the Lioness. Sorry, I'm getting too excited. And she's coming back towards the den site. This is very exciting stuff. So we'll wait here. We're in perfect position here to see the sort of cuteness overload, which will be the reunion with any luck. So don't worry about the sunset, that's gone, the lights disappeared. Now, welcome back to everybody watching us also on social media. We have got here a reunion of sorts about to take place. Very exciting stuff. If you weren't with us this morning, we watched this Lioness come to this den site, take all 9 cubs with her towards a kill. Something happened halfway there. The cubs split up. 2 of them stayed with her. We hope 7 came back here. All is going to be revealed now. The Lioness is coming back with the 2 little ones. There they are. And they're coming towards the den, and with any luck, all 7 remaining ones will come out. We've still got 3 here, or 3 or 4 that have been poking their heads in and out of the little den site during the course of the day. We're now going to find out if any of the 9 of the black rock cubs have been lost during the strange happenings of this morning. Oh, sweet. And look at this, they're very clearly 2 of different ages, so not both hers, maybe neither of them are hers. The other 2 lionesses are over the ridge, and they are eating a zebra, or the remains of a zebra. Now, Kathy, you say how very precious. There is nothing more precious than this. Just look at the way their little ears are pushed back in concentration as they pound their way up the hill. And the best part of this is that we know she's coming. The other cubs that are sitting on the rock have no idea. She hasn't called yet, so watch her mouth, and she'll make a call. Look at the little one, struggling to keep up, soldiering its way up a mountain. I can remember going on walks with my parents in the Drakensberg Mountains of South Africa, feeling exactly like that cub. My younger brother, unfortunately bigger than me, but like the bigger cub there, me like the little one. And just watch, she's going to start calling. The other cubs don't know she's there yet. I'm watching them. There, she's called. See? They've just perked up. There, look at them now. They're looking over the top. They're just looking over the top of the rocks. Now another one's popped its head out. Who's coming? Who's coming to see you? Look. And here they come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all here. Oh, wonderful. What a brilliant way. What a brilliant way to end our little lion cub story. They're all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. As far as I can tell. Oh, there we go. How magnificent. Do you want to try and roll forward, Fred? We're just going to try and roll forward slowly, just so that we can get the sight of her drinking. Oh dear, the car's not moving. I might have to start it. It's okay. They won't get a fright. I might just look up, but that's all right. There we go. I just have to get over that little bump. Or just roll slowly, gently forward. Oh my goodness. Okay, while still in this Facebook Live, everybody, we haven't just got lion cubs, we've now got Cheetah also on the hunt.
Hello everyone, you have come just in time. This Thompson's gazelle is walking straight towards 2 cheetah. You can see them flattened in the ground there. Oh shame, she is in trouble. Now, the cheetah to watch is the one on the right. That is the mother, and I'm sure she is going to be the one to lead the charge. It's going to happen at any moment. There's also a 3rd cheetah further off to the right. This Thompson's gazelle is in huge, huge trouble. It is going to get the fright of its life. But it is the perfect... There's the other cheetah, straight behind the Thompson's gazelle now. If you zoom in, there we go. Now we're going to see the chase. Let's see. There goes the mother. Oh no. Look at how quick that Thompson's gazelle got away. And the cheetah didn't even stand a chance, even though she walked almost directly into them. And isn't that just such a great lesson for all of us as to how hard it is, even for the fastest animal on the planet, to get its meal? The prey has evolved to be able to escape these predators. And look at them all just standing around bemused. It took us absolutely by surprise. This Thompson's gazelle came out of nowhere. Craig and I were thinking that we were going to head home without any action, but we did get a little bit, and it was so great to have you on board, but we do have to rush you back to all of that cuteness with James.
Well, I'm not sure it's the cuteness of me that has anything to do with this. In fact, quite the opposite. I think it's the cuteness of these magnificent little cubs, and they're now starting their relieved playing. I'm sure they're all starving. And we're going to watch now, I suspect, a big fight over who is going to have the rights to be suckling, because all 9 of them are here. Now, Cookie, you say, why did she take the tiny ones and not the bigger ones? She didn't take the tiny ones. She took one of each, and it wasn't her that took them. One of each decided to stay with her. The others turned tail and came back to the den. I don't know why. It's impossible to say why they chose to stay with her, those 2, and why the others turned around and came back. I really couldn't say. But it was really worrying and really fascinating to see this morning. Now, Troy, this is not 1 litter exactly. If you have just joined us, this is 3 litters. And they're not all hers, obviously. Now, look, they're all going to try and feed. There are another 2 lionesses. They're on a zebra kill, not far from here. It's almost finished. And surely they must return to feed these cubs during the course of the evening. Otherwise, there's going to be a major conflagration over the... Well, I mean, 9 of them sharing 4 teats is going to be extremely difficult. And they must be hungry because they haven't been fed today. They'll all now try and get in on the action there. And I think we're going to have to move around, Ferg. We'll just... You're right there? No, if you're happy there, that's fine. Let's just stay here for a while. Fergus is on camera, by the way. Look at this. I mean, that is just priceless stuff. Absolutely priceless. Nadine, you... You reckon they look like smart cubs, and you want to know if they are? I wouldn't say that they're necessarily smart, no. They're lions, which means that they're not renowned for their great powers of deduction or ability to do trigonometry and calculus. I don't think that they're particularly smart. I don't think they're particularly gormless either. But no, I wouldn't put them at, necessarily very smart at all. I'd be interested, Nadine, why you say that. It's quite interesting that you would say that they're smart. Now she's calling. And Natalie, you want to know how often that they will feed. How often they'll feed. I mean, pretty much twice a day, I think. I mean, sometimes more often than that even. But twice a day, I guess, would be the average that they would spend feeding. Or average number of times they would feed. But really, whenever the lionesses are around, they will try and feed. I mean, this is just... You don't even know where to look. It's like a little group of rodents almost running around. There's so many of them. And every so often I'm just casting my eye towards the western horizon to see if the others aren't going to come this way. She's calling them. Oh, they're having a wonderful playtime now. You can just hear her going, hoo, hoo, hoo. You just tell me when you want me to go back a bit. Oh, she's going to go right onto the top of that rock, I think. And interestingly, when we watched them yesterday, what we saw was a definite separation of 2 and 1, I think. Okay, maybe let's skedaddle around there. I think she's being reticent about lying down because she knows that 9 of them trying to suckle off her is going to present something of a difficulty. I wonder if we shouldn't go around the front. Let's go around the front. Fantastic stuff. If you do have the odd break, don't worry, it will come back. We are in a slightly difficult signal area. The cubs, or the lionesses should come from there. Tim, you say what predators would be a danger to these cubs? How's that, Ferg? Yep. Tim, the biggest danger to these cubs is going to be I'm just pointing at the moon, sorry, because it's so pretty. Maybe should we go around the other side and we'll try and get... Okay, I thought we might get both. Tim, hyenas, definitely. Marauding male lions, definitely a danger to the cubs. You can see how full the moon's going to be. So there's going to be lovely, lovely light today on the plains. And she would be able to defend them from just about everything, except a marauding male lion. She'll absolutely be able to protect them against a hyena. A group of hyenas maybe not, but you see she's so close to the den that if they felt any threat at all, they'll just disappear back inside underneath all the rocks there, and then they'll be safe. Alrighty, there they all are. They're going to try and feed for, well, probably until the other 2 lionesses come back and help them all to feed. While we wait for the other 2 lionesses, you're going to get on with the rest of your day, whatever it is that you happen to be doing. When the other lionesses arrive, we'll be sure to show you. So we'll see you very shortly, I hope. Okay, everybody, we're off air on social media. Well, I suppose YouTube is social media of sorts. Around the bush?
Around the bush?
Around the bush. Let's go around the bush. Wasn't that precious? We were so lucky there. Alrighty, let's head back across to Stefan Winterboer. I'm assuming he is still with Thamba. He has big ears and much more hair than Stef or I have.
Well, he's come out of his tree, and it happened about 20 seconds ago, and now he's just standing on the side of this drainage line, deciding where to go. I'm hoping that he'll choose to go and have the drink that he was trying to have a little while ago, and we'll just have to see about where he's going to go. Is he walk? No, he's still there. It is the most amazing thing, their camouflage. He's sitting there. Give you an example. There we go. There's his head. How incredible is that? Just one little bush between us and him. And you can hardly see him. I'm sure he's now lived to tell the tale about the lions. A truly magical afternoon spent in his company. So nice to get to know him a little bit. His timidity is good. Not all leopard develop different characters, of course, and you get bold leopard and you get timid leopard, and it's been nice to know about him. I like his fine features. I find that attractive in a leopard. I don't like these big bulky bullying big bullies of leopards. I like the finer features that he has, and I quite like his timidity. I think it's appealing. It falls in character with leopard for me. A bold leopard, let me use an example. He's going down inside there. Thanks. See where he goes. He's going to come out there now. He's walking in front of that car. We'll see where he goes. Up into the shadows. Let's go forward a little bit. He's going to carry on with his hunt. Not the direction I think he would have chosen initially, but not a bad one in any case. There he goes. Forward a little bit. Ilana, who's only 14 years old, has asked me what the largest animal is that Thamba has caught. I don't actually know, Ilana, but at this age, he would be more than capable of killing a full-grown impala, and could probably even take something bigger if he was bold enough to do that. So here he's walking at the top there of the drainage line. He's going to come across this little bit of an open area now. And he'll carry on with his hunt. And he'll carry on with his hunt, and we'll probably spend most of the evening hunting for something to eat. It looks like his foot is a bit sore. Is that just my imagination, or is he limping a little bit? No, he's fine. Might be a bit of a thorn stuck in there. And that's that for us and this particular sighting. He's now going into some incredibly thick bush on that side. I've walked a lot in that area there, and so that's that for Thamba tonight. It's nice to know where he is. We'll come and walk around here tomorrow morning with Herbie, in actual fact, see if we can see some more of him. We're going to cross over to Scott at the moment, and we'll catch up with you when we find something else interesting to show you.
Hello everyone. And as you can see, we've left the cheetah and we found these Crowned Lapwing, and these two were having a little bit of a fight when we first saw them. So let's keep a close eye out and see if we don't see any further interesting behavior from them. I've never seen these birds fight before. Let's see what happens here. I can't remember who kind of attacked who out of the two of them, but there was definitely some form of attack, and there's a third and fourth one off to the left, so you can hear them calling now. Oh, they mate. Oh, I thought they were mating. Maybe they were, or they were just holding their wings up while they were calling. I think that's actually what they were doing. I thought there was two birds on top of one another. Excuse me. When birds mate, it's a very, very interesting scene. It's like one bird with four wings, basically, and I guess two heads, but it's a jumble of feathers. If you have yet to see birds mating, I remember the first time I saw my pet budgies mating when I was a little kid growing up. I was quite horrified. So these guys are obviously just maybe having a little bit of a evening chat. It seems like there's about 3 pairs of them here. And we are on our way home. We're going to head back early to these cheetah first thing tomorrow morning, or at least the cheetah that we were with a little bit earlier. So we're going to have a nice early night and probably spend the whole day out. We're going to bring breakfast, lunch, everything with us so that we do not leave those cheetah, because when we left them today, we missed them hunting on 3 different occasions, which we cannot let happen again. Good stuff. Well, goodbye from me. Thanks so much for joining in and tagging along. It's been what sounds like an epic drive. And for now, the epicness will continue down south with Stef in South Africa.
Back in dusty Djuma. It is a bit of a dusty Djuma at the moment, although the winds haven't really been blowing. We've had a little bit of rain, and it has settled the dust a little bit, which is quite nice. I think if it had to start blowing over here before a storm, it would be a different story. There's not a lot of grass to catch the dust. I think it's going to whip a lot of dust into the atmosphere, but it is making for some nice sunrises and sunsets for this time of the year. Usually it's these very red sunsets with all the dust around. This morning we had an epic sunrise. It was this dull red disk and disappeared into the clouds. Now the clouds have moved on, and so whatever weather system caused the promise of rain has moved on. Except I did know that on Friday we are scheduled to get some rain again, so maybe this is all just going to change once again. Look at that beautiful sky. That's the only cloud that we have in the sky at the moment. That is what I'm looking at while I'm driving around. Isn't that fantastic? Really blessed to be honest. That is very cool. Now, Christina, you'd like to know if there's any tribes of people that live in the area where we cover. Christina, South Africa had a policy of excluding man and animals from its wilderness areas many years ago. It was a legacy of the apartheid regime, which wanted to exclude people from areas like this in part. In part, it was to shield wild animals and the diseases that they bring from domestic stock, and therefore allow South Africa to trade in international food markets disease-free, which opened up markets for us that otherwise would have been closed. And it was a way to separate man from animals, and so the human animal interactions were reduced substantially by a fence that could be patrolled. So the Kruger National Park, even though it is one of the most massive wilderness areas, almost 10 million acres of wilderness area in fact, it's still fenced. The fence is porous in many areas, non-existent in others, well maintained in others, but essentially, and my point is that people are excluded from living traditionally inside the Kruger National Park. That said, the local people that live over here are called the Shangaan. So the local tribe of people are called the Shangaan, and Herbie and I work together on the walks every day, and Herbie is a Shangaan. He's a proper Shangaan. Herbie and Rexon are proper Shangaans. They've got memories of this place dating back to their great-grandparents who were also living in this place, and so the Shangaan people moved in here in the 1800s, mid-1800s, and they moved into an area that was pretty much devoid of human habitation. And the reason for that was there was a tribal feud that in a very short space of time, about 30 years or so, completely denuded this area of people. It was called the Mfakan, and the Mfakan was well known to driving people away, enslaving people, turning people into basically just animals. It was a civil war for control of power in this area and very lucrative trade routes, and it was a civil war that turned this place on its head, followed very shortly by the reason why the Shangaan people moved into this place in the first place was to get away from a very ruthless chief, a Zulu chief called Shaka Zulu, who basically turned his people into warriors of world renown. In the process of doing that and amassing and securing the Zulu nation's power base, he managed to eradicate people in areas, especially these fringe areas, and basically between the early 1800s to the mid 1800s, there was not much going on here in terms of people. So the Shangaan people came into this area and resettled it, and so for the last almost 200 years it's been settled by people. And before that it was also settled by people for way over 100,000 years. There's late, middle and early Iron Age and Stone Age sites inside the Kruger National Park, and so this area has been a place where people have lived. What those people were, who they were, history has unfortunately forgotten that in the early 1800s civil wars that occurred through this part of Africa. That was a bit of a waffle, but I hope I answered your question. It's interesting, Senzo, who's sitting here next to me, is a Zulu, and I'm sure he has some points to add about his version of the history books. Just having a chuckle at him. Of course, South Africa's history books were written from a very weird place, and so the story that I'm telling you and what I was taught to be true may not necessarily be that way from a Zulu's point of view. And it's going to be interesting discussion around the campfire today to find out exactly what I know to be true versus what actually happened. Alright, we're going to be making our way into the sunsets a little bit further, and without further ado, why don't we send you over to James and his lions.
There we have our lions. They're all trying to feed. They've been having a mighty fight over who gets to have some teat. At the moment, there are only 4 teats on a lion, so it's not like a dog, which I think has 8 if I'm not mistaken. And so these 9 cubs are now going to struggle a little bit to get enough to eat. Just to the right of where the feeding is going on, the rest of them are. And it's now got pretty dark out here. And so while you're looking at those lions, I'm looking constantly away off to where the others should come from. And the direction to which this poor overstressed lioness is looking, hoping that her lazy sisters will make their way back here to help out with the babysitting today. But so far, we have seen not hide nor hair of them. Look how cross she's getting. A bit of discipline required for these poor little cubs, hungry as they may be. Somehow she's managed to put them off. I suspect those large teeth have something to do with it. Yeah, that's why she keeps getting up. She can't relax, because unfortunately there's too much to do right now. Housekeeping to do, cleaning. She keeps looking towards where they should be coming from. I'm sure that they will be here. I think we're going to sit here, hopefully, until they come. I'm not sure if we'll still be on air by then, but we might be. I'm also setting up my thermal camera. Hopefully won't drop it out the side of the car. And then we can have a look at the lions and thermal. We are, of course, now in infrared. That's why the colours are a little bit dull. That's what happens. When you're in infrared, things get a little dull. And I wonder, they're not concentrating hugely. I wonder if she didn't come back here and maybe feed them. No, she didn't. She wouldn't have, because then she would have left all the cubs here. She wouldn't have taken some and then brought the others back. So I'm pretty sure they haven't eaten all day long. Adele, you're wondering if they'll move den soon, or if they and then be introduced to the pride. Well, I mean, they have been introduced to the pride, in so much as the pride is the 3 females who look after them, and so they absolutely have been introduced to the pride many times, because they were all born at the same time. They have always been part of the pride. And this would be around about the time when, if there was a litter on its own, they would be introduced to the pride. So I guess, yes, that would be true. But what was the other part of the question again? Will they be introduced to the litter and move the dens? Right. And Adele, I don't think they're going to move dens. I think they're going to remain exactly here. I don't think they're going to move, and I'll tell you why. I think they have been in this den from the very beginning, and I don't think that they can see any point in moving dens. They may, I suppose, but a den site is going to become something of a thing of the past fairly soon for these lions, and instead of having a den, well, they'll just be left in sort of thick bush when the lionesses go hunting. And I'm just looking at the thermal image of the lions and the rock, and the rock is giving off a tremendous amount of heat. You see that there, Ferg? You'll excuse my framing. There it is. I'll just hide myself out the way. See that? There the lion's moving, but look how hot that rock is. You can see why the Mwanza was so enjoying it. So we've changed back to colour. Thank you, Rebecca. I didn't even think about that. The challenges that I'm presenting to you in the final control. Shame. Yeah, I mean, those rocks are hot, obviously hotter than the lions. All right, let's go back to the lions. And I'll turn it the other way now and see if I can spot the others coming this way. Oh, they're moving. Right, let's move back a bit. Laura Moore, I think the answer is a resounding no for this one. Interesting question. You say, can the mother change the taste or turn off the milk if she's tired and doesn't feel like suckling them anymore? No, I don't think that's possible. I certainly don't think she can change the taste. Whether or not she can switch it off, I think is... I don't think she can switch it off, but of course 9 cubs will denude her very quickly, and what that will mean is that if they do denude her teats, well, then she'll just have no more. It's like a cow. A cow will eventually, you know, their udders will empty. If that's all right. Sorry about that black screen, everybody. We're just going to wait here, see if she finishes her drink and then gets up and comes back this way. And that will give me a chance to scan with the thermal FLIR camera whether or not the other lionesses are heading here. The ground is still very hot from the day of sun, and so I can't see much other than hot bushes and hot rocks, or as they say in South Africa, hot rocks. Cubs just so playful, aren't they? Yeah, she's coming back this way. She's constantly looking in the direction of where she thinks her deeply irksome, lazy sisters are. She's not nearly as fat as they are either. We went to see the two of them. You would have seen that at the beginning of the drive, and they were massive. That's an interesting one from James. Yes, I suppose it's possible. You say, is there a reason that she's on cub duty, you know, all the time? Is it maybe that she's the mother of the youngest set? That is possible. Remember, though, interestingly, that the two that stayed with her were definitely clearly from different litters. They're different sizes. So, yeah, she might be the one with the youngest. Maybe she's just got a stronger maternal instinct. That's possible. Maybe she's... yeah, I don't know what it is. But same one who came back this morning from the kill early. And I don't know, I mean, I don't recognize her well enough to know whether she was more involved yesterday evening or not. But she has got a distinctive scar or injury on the back right leg, which is quite interesting. So she is quite easily identifiable. One of the others has got one over the right eye, which is quite interesting also. Keeps looking, hoping. I know I can't see anything other than the FLIR because it's now dark. You see, she's not lying in that sort of open pose that allows access to her teats. That's because I think there are just too many cubs, too many needle-like teeth having a go at them. And while it might look quite fun to have all those little things sort of, all those little things climbing all over you, I imagine once the teeth start to work, it becomes very unpleasant indeed. Yeah, Paula, I think that's probably true for most mammals. You say, are they like humans in that the more they nurse, the more milk they will produce? Yes, I think to a certain extent that's true. I don't think any lioness, however, was designed to produce sufficient milk for 9 cubs. And so, I mean, if the other 2, let's say they were abducted by aliens or they dropped dead, she'd find it very, very difficult to raise even 4 of these. I'm just going to be quiet and let her listen for a while. See, immediately she just gets irritated and stands up. The cubs, just like human children, don't understand why their mother has got anything other than boundless energy, masses of food, and why she should ever show any vague irritation with them. It's almost like she wants to go and call them. As Rebecca says, it's almost like she wants to get into the vehicle and drive away with us. I think that's probably quite true. She's very sick and tired of this malarkey. I believe it's still light all the way 2,500 miles down to South Africa, and Stef has managed to find himself a bird in the sunset.
No, just luckily. Normally what happens is as you come to these things they fly away, but it looks like we've got a little Sparrow Hawk in the tree. They're quite rare things to see actually, not uncommon birds, but quite rare things to see. They catch almost anything from lizards to young mice to young birds to insects. He's going to fly away on quick darting wings now. You can almost see, I think he was hounded in here. I found this little guy because there was a bushrack kicking at it, and then the bushrack flew away, being the shyer of the 2 birds and not being mobbed, and left us with this, not the best view, but a view nonetheless of this fierce little hunter. We're all just trying to hold our breath so it doesn't shake too much. You can see that bobbing head, and you can hear Shelley's Franklin in the background. Peaceful evening. No noise just yet. That whistle you're now picking up is from a red-crested bustard. Quite a large eye actually. It's not often that you get to spend so much time looking at these little guys. I never really noticed the size of the eye before. Much larger than I would have thought of a bird of this size. A bird's probably about, if you had to hold both of your hands together, sort of fingertips to palm, if you're a normal sized human being, it would be about that size, from the end of its tail to the top of its head. I don't really know much more about these little birds. Let me see what my book tells me. Wow, there are a lot of mosquitoes in the Sabi Sands this year. It is crazy. For this time of the year, it is mad at the moment. And for 3 years now, we've gone without any incidences of malaria at all in the camp. And I think it's just a matter of time. Alright, so little Sparrow Hawk, let's see, generally an uncommon resident, sedentary and mostly solitary. mainly small birds up to dove size, but also rodents, bats, lizards, and insects. They're monogamous birds, and they build a small stick platform built in a tall tree. And that's basically all they have to say about that. The genus is Accipiter minulus. Let's go and see what that has to say. Plate 378. Let's go and see this. Sorry, plate 68, not 378. I don't know what I'm saying to you. Alright, so plate 68. I love knowing what these things mean. Okay, so little Sparrow Hawk, the minulus, I suppose I could have said this to you without even needing it, means very small. That is crazy. Going out now to come and revel in my embarrassment. Senzo has decided to finish looking at that little Sparrow Hawk. Nice to see though. So for those of you keeping birdless about this time of the year, little Sparrow Hawk, it's a good thing to see. Wow, there's just clouds of mozzies here. There must be about 40 or 50 mosquitoes inside this car. As soon as you stop. Mad. Mishman, good evening. You'd like to know, will the bush be very transformed by December, and will it be more difficult to see animals then? Absolutely transformed, Mishman. Will it be difficult to see animals? Yes, only in terms of finding them. But, rather than having 5 lion sightings to pick from on a daily basis, we'll have 2 lion sightings or 1 lion sighting. So there's always a lion or a leopard around. It just becomes a little bit more difficult to find it. So we'll definitely still be seeing lion, leopard, elephant, buffalo, all the antelope, etc., but it'll just take a little bit more time to find them. And the reason for that is the bush is thicker, of course. It'll green up quite nicely. I mean, for instance, when you look at that skyline, in winter this band here will be completely obliterated by green vegetation, and this grass will be thick up to that level grass, so completely banded up, and this just a wall of vegetation, with the only visible part of course being above there. So that's the difference between now and of course everything that's brown and grey would be green, and different shades of green in summer. So if you haven't seen a summer with us just yet, stick around and look at this picture. In the next couple of months this bush is going to go through a transformation akin to a fairy tale, I tell you. Lots of baboons having walked down this road. Alright, we're going to turn the corner over here and see what we can find. Maybe we can find where these baboons whose tracks are on the road are roosting. In the meantime, on you go and see what James has to say.
Well, what James has to say is that I want you to ask Stef next time you see him if his deluge is going to materialize this year, like he threatened it would last year. Still, the lioness cannot lie down. She's just too uncomfortable with all of these cubs, and they're being a real pain to her. Now she seems to be moving off away towards the direction she came from, perhaps thinking, I can't bear this any longer, I'm going to go and lie down somewhere and wait till the others get back. We now cannot move because there are cubs all around and I cannot see anything, so I'm afraid we are staying right where we are for now. I'm actually not going to follow these cubs at night time. I think that would be very dangerous. But I don't believe all of them are going to disappear. In fact, one of them staring up at me now. Yeah, right, yeah. Christy, I'm afraid, there's no ways that the other lionesses would have heard that soft ooh call, because they're too far away. They're about a mile away. Or maybe I'm going to say between half a mile and a mile. You see, that's quite a big difference. How many cubs have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are there 9 there? Ah, yes. So there are all 9 there. But I'm afraid I'm very reticent to try and follow them in the night. I don't think it's fair to make a noise around them, I'm afraid. So I'm going to let her take them away, and we're just going to see if some of them don't come back this way and go back to the den and wait for their other mothers and aunts to come back. I know it's a little disappointing, but I really think it would be very insensitive to fly this fat diesel engine behind them. Judy, you're wondering what would happen to this lioness if one of these cubs got killed while on her watch. Judy, she's not on a watch. She hasn't been put on some kind of a child duty by the others. She's just showing more enthusiasm for mothering than the others. So, I mean, it's not like the others would have a kangaroo court, put her to trial, and then, burn her at the stake for being a bad mother. It really doesn't work like that, obviously. I mean, I'm being slightly facetious, but, she hasn't been put on duty. She's just showing more enthusiasm for it than the others are. I'm afraid I cannot follow them through there. And the reason I cannot follow them through there is because the engine will make too much noise, too much smell. It's dark now. They need to have their wits about them for potential predators. Now, Stef apparently has got something called a sandbag. I don't understand what that means. Why he needs a sandbag? Oh, yes, I do. It's for the flood. Oh, goody. I can't wait.
I have to have a laugh at all these youngsters, in their exuberant youth. They've never lived through a flood here. They'd understand why I am so pedantic with my sandbags. Once we have a proper deluge here. It'll happen at some point. May not be this year or next, or next, judging from the last couple of years. But it definitely will come again. I remember quite fondly the time I had during the floods of the year 2000 here, where this reserve pretty much closed down for 3 months because no one could get in. There was no ways to get supplies to the camps. All the rivers had flooded, bridges were broken down. You couldn't drive anywhere because the roads were too soft, and in many cases washed away completely. And so for 3 months, basically we just lived at the camps that we were stranded at and finished all the beer in the bar and all the orange juice in the fridge, apple juice, and ate the food that was there. And every now and again someone would make it through in some unbelievable feat of 4x4 driving with some fresh produce. Otherwise it was quite interesting. For a couple of weeks that was the case, and then we started to come back and rebuild roads and rebuild camps, and after it was almost a full 6 months to 9 months, the industry slowly recovered. But it took a long time to get going again. And for years, rivers that had never had never been running before, afterwards carried on running. I remember all the way up to 2005, 2006, the water table was so high that drainage lines were flowing pretty much permanently. And so from 2006 it dried out a little bit. Then 2009 there was a bit more of there was a drought in 2009. 2012 there was another flood. Not quite as big, but definitely had some far-reaching effects. And since then it's been dry. It's been dry. So for what's that now? 5 years it's been dry. Might well go on for the next 5 years, who knows. at some point, I suppose, my sandbags will get used. John, you'd like to know, based on a statement I said about the 400 million mosquitoes I've got living in the cockpit with me today, can animals also get malaria? John, not as far as I know. The malaria parasite that lives in the female Anopheles mosquito is only host specific to the Anopheles mosquito and to man. You might find that there are some cases where it can be transferred to great apes. I'm not too sure about whether or not gorillas or chimpanzees or bonobo apes can contract malaria as well. But to my knowledge right now, I know it to just be a human-borne disease. However, mosquitoes do and are vectors. In other words, they do carry diseases over to many different animals. So in this particular case, the Anopheles female, the Anopheles mosquito, and just the Anopheles mosquito carries the malaria parasite. There's a scrub here that ran across the road in front of us. But there are other mosquitoes that can carry and do carry a whole variety of different diseases as well, as do flies, as do ticks, and many other parasites, even non-parasites. Snails, for instance, carry the bilharzia. It's probably a parasite as well. What a cool evening. I almost wanted to put my jersey on a bit earlier, but I decided against it. It's actually quite comfortable to drive around just in shorts and a t-shirt. A little bit of a bite in the air, but nothing compared to a couple of weeks ago where you were watching Byron. I remember watching Byron and Ali and Tristan covered up in their jackets, beanies on as soon as the sun goes down. And of course heading into a favorite time of the year for me, the summertime, with the blistering heat and thunder showers when it gets too hot. Now we're going to turn around the corner over here, look for something interesting to show you, perhaps the golden brown baboon spider that I wanted to see last night. In the meantime, we're going to be going up to the Mara and to James, who's apparently got his winter woolies on.
Well, not quite winter woolies, but certainly not quite as warm as it is there at Sandbag Central. I have actually experienced the floods, and when I was in the year 2000, all those eons ago, I was a trainee ranger, but I wasn't in the Sabi Sands. I was in the Timbavati, which is just north of the Sabi Sands. And yeah, they closed the lodge where I was as well, and I got stuck out in the rain one night as a young buck, terrified. And what we're going to do now is head, if I can just ask the wind to stop irritating the life out of me by blowing all the dust that I'm making onto me, that would be great. We're going to go back towards where the two lionesses and the zebra were. I've got to try and find them on a slightly circuitous route, because I didn't want to go, with the others and disturb them and make a noise. So we've come quite a distance around another way, and by my reckoning they should be on the ridge just about where I'm pointing the spotlight now. Now, H. Macy, I don't think they can, and this is a question that I've been asking. I've watched these cubs here. You say cats can. Sorry about that, everybody. H. Macy, you asked a question about whether or not I thought that the lions' cubs could recognize their mothers from their aunts, and I had to say that I don't think that they can, no. I am of the opinion that they don't know the difference. Now, Fergus, I would have said around there, wouldn't you? Just a little bit difficult to tell. That's the main stream. Do you think that's it there? You think it's down that way? Right, we'll head about that way. We'll see if you're clear. I think you may well be correct. We did see some flashing eyes there along this road. Yes, Fergus, you're a genius. I would have gone further to the right and got us lost, as I say very quietly under my breath, again. I did get a little lost today, everybody, and I used the pathetic excuse that I was listening to something in both my ears with my earphones, so that's why I became disorientated, which I think is probably rubbish, but I'm going to go with it. You, Rebecca, be quiet about this. Are we in the right place? Yes, I think we are. That's her. Rebecca says she also gets lost very often. I'm not sure I get lost very often, but I certainly do get lost. You would say very often, would you, Rebecca? I see. Well, we'll have words when I return. Okay, here are the other lionesses. That's fantastic news. And yes, as you say, if I remember, and if I can make it home without getting lost. Why am I stopping slow, poorly? Hang on a sec. Let's just get a bit closer. There's no reason for us to be particularly sensitive about lions eating a kill. Big ones. How's that, Ferg? Christine, you're wondering about which coalition you've used the term protects this pride. Just go to the left. Oh, the jackals. I thought they were Thompson's gazelles. Christine, I think it's called the Black Rock Coalition, actually, and I think it's 2 males, but I actually don't know a huge amount about them. So we've got 1 lioness here. Now maybe the other has started to make her way back to the kill. Maybe she's in amongst these bushes. There's a running bird. Can't tell what it is. But only 1 lioness here that I can make out. So that's good. Maybe she will have gone towards the others. Now, you know, it's quite often that we find lionesses looking for their cubs or looking for their sisters or looking for their pride mates and you often wonder, or I often wonder to myself, how do they get lost from each other? I guess we've just watched how it happens. You know, 2 of them sit on a carcass for longer than expected. Then one takes the cubs away, but the cubs can't make it all the way to the kill, so she stops halfway, has a rest. Suddenly these ones get up and move back towards the kill site, and then there's nothing there. At least to the den site, and then there's nothing there, and so they walk around trying to find each other again. You'll have to excuse the clearly blocked nature of my sinuses now. That is on account of the 4 kilograms of dust I inhaled on the way down here. That is the black-backed jackal, in case you're wondering. It is a scavenger and hunter and digger, apparently. Looks like Fenton, my father's dog, digging in the garden, much to my mother's disgust. And what bird is that? I mean, it looks like it's a lapwing, I think, or a thickney. It looks... Excuse me. I can't speak. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm going to try and figure out what bird that is, and we're going to head across to Stef, who apparently is working out his not insubstantial biceps by waving the spotlight.
I'm lucky enough that I'm a little bit taller than poor Jamie, who has to hold the spotlight this high above her head so that she can get it over the dashboard. So I'm not working out that much. Or Scott, who's got a big steel spotlight that he holds with a handle at the top and swings that around, which must weigh easily about 4 or 5 pounds that he swings around there. And what I'm trying to really do is, apart from finding my golden brown baboon spider, which I'd really like to show you at some point, but I'd also like to show you, and particularly I'd like to show Madeline, an Osmum canum plant, which Madeline has asked, is there a plant out here that is a natural insect repellent, and could I rub it on my skin to chase away these mosquitoes? There absolutely is, Madeline. There's a lot of things that you can use out here for insect repellent. The two most effective are the plants I'm looking for right now, the Osmum canum and the skin of a ripe marula. You can turn the skin inside out and you rub it on your legs, and it is a fantastic insect repellent. So right now though, I'm not finding any Osmum, and the reason for that is that it is a complete summer plant. It grows in very wet environments. What I'm basically looking for is a dried up stalk of one with some remnants of last year's leaves on it. So I'm looking for them here underneath the power lines. There's usually quite a lot. Either in wet, disturbed soil is where they do grow. So, Madeline, yes, the bush does provide with a lot of different remedies, from things for colds and flu to bites. If you watched the walk I did this morning, we talked about how to treat infected wounds and dirty wounds with the Tamboti sap. It provides food, a whole range of different things. Entertainment, my job, quite a lot of things. This bush provides for a few different things. All right, but what I'm going to be doing is saying goodbye to all of you, because James does have a lioness, and rather than watch my bald head swinging from side to side, let me say goodnight and send you over to James for the last couple of minutes of the show.
Just with that picture. There we are. They are still feeding, obviously, on the sort of deflated carcass. It looks like a sort of balloon that's been deflated, doesn't it, Fergus? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't think the others are going to arrive. We'll stick around here for a little while and see what happens. Oh, that's an interesting one from Susie, asking whether or not, if the lions came to the kill, would they be able, or would the jackals be able to kill the cubs? And I mean, yes, I suppose they possibly could, but they wouldn't, because the lionesses would be around, and the jackals are not generally known as suicidal animals. They'd have to be suicidal. What was that? Go again with that message, Rebecca. 60 seconds, 60. Until the end of the show. Now we're going to finish the show, Fergus, I think, with a rather interesting picture here, if you don't mind. I quite like it. Can you get it? Or was my arm in the way? There we are. Right, there we go. Thank you, everybody, for coming on Drive with us. There you can see David in the background. David, give us a wave.
That's it.
There's David, there's Fergus, and I am over there. There I am. Hello. Yes, good. Okay, so that's it from us today. We'll see you tomorrow, of course, at 05:30 Central African Time, 06:30 East African Time. Until then, thank you very much for joining us. I hope it was as good for you as it was for us. Okay.